Hello, this is Daniel Michael, founder, co-creator of the Main Street Universe Radio Network. And just to let you know on an update, I am bringing back Main Street Universe. I'm just finding the proper outlet. The old one I was going to jumpstart with had shut down. Blog Talk Radio completely shut down. You can't even find archives. I managed to download a few. But soon, it'll happen. We'll have another network. I'm doing some homework on it right now. Today I would like to discuss something that is often overlooked, something that is often just not discussed enough. It's out there, but not discussed enough in spiritual or New Age or magical practices. And that thing is building up preparation and practice. If you're going to get good at something, then you have to, like working out, you have to go to the gym and you have to practice before you get onto the playing field and play a sport. By the time you get onto the playing field, you don't want to be thinking all that much about what you're doing. Just like martial arts. Muscle memory, just like playing the guitar. Muscle memory on stage, you don't want to be going, I think my finger goes here. I've done it before. It's very stressful. I've been horribly unprepared before. It's not a good look. So, in this case, in this specific case, I want to talk about preparation for meditation. So, two aspects of this topic are important to me. These are my interpretations, by the way. My interpretations based on my own experiences, as well, of course, as the teachings of others. I always believe learning is learning from the masters before you and being respectful. And then, of course, you take it into your own direction and see what works for you. And we're all a little different, but we have universal similarities. I'm going to start with this. The mind is all, and the all is mind, the Hermetic principle. And I'm not going to go into a big lecture about Hermetic principles, or even about the all is mind. This is meant to be incredibly simple, what I'm saying this evening. And that is, in order to engage in the principle of mentalism, as it's called, something has to be destroyed. I'll say it again, something has to go. You don't get something for nothing. You have to make room. The thing is what you're attempting to do is not just to be quiet and calm. You're practicing, you're forging, you're working out the mind. And just like if you were working out physically, there are certain habits you would cut out. Things such as the internal debate while you're lying in bed and don't feel like going to the gym or downstairs or wherever your type of workout happens to be. The similar works for the mind. There are certain things that just plain have to go. A major contributor to worried, unsure, disorganized, pandemonious, chaotic, stressed out lives is directly linked to a lack of mental discipline. And it makes perfect sense, to be honest, with all of the distractions out there in the world, in this modern world. But they were always there in some form. We adjust and we move on and we have these different forms. But in the modern day, very quickly, it's very easily to become distracted, as you all know. So we will discuss sacrifice. Something must be sacrificed in order to apply this principle. The idea of sacrifice, the idea of shadow work, is often overlooked in New Age circles. I'm not saying it's not there, but it's not as marketable as get your thought right and here comes a Lamborghini. The sacrifice is, in my opinion, the one that I'm mentioning, or the ones, maybe plural, that I'm mentioning, are, in my opinion, much more difficult than what you might be thinking of as a sacrifice. Cutting the throat of an animal, throwing a goat off of a cliff. This sacrifice is daily, hourly. This sacrifice is much more dull and promises no immediate thrill. However, it can provide a nice calm, clarity, inner peace, and awareness. And the more you do meditations, they will provide you with a dopamine rush. It's a calm one, it's a subtle one, but it actually feels quite good. The interesting thing about it is the more you do it, the better it feels. Unlike a drug where you build up tolerance, it actually feels better over time and quicker and easier to get to that better feeling state. But we're at the beginning, we're at day one, neophyte, whatever words you want to say. And by the way, when I wake up, I always say that I'm day one. Like we're born, it's my first day on earth. So, human beings that are truly aware are difficult to control. Human beings that are truly aware are difficult to find themselves in traps of emotional oscillations. So, what then needs to be sacrificed? As I was mentioning before, only the things that you spend the very most time with. The noise, the distractions, consumerism, negative programming, excess social media. Nothing wrong with social media. I was talking excess, which is often the point anyway. Mistaking inner excuses and debates for genuine, productive inner planning. So today, we physically, simply will discuss opening a doorway. Step 1. This isn't going to be guided, by the way. This is more me sharing my personal techniques that I use every day. This is a really important entry-level day one thing when discussing and when engaging in meditation to help build your mind as a weapon. Step 1, lay down. To me, I use some sort of chanting music in headphones, theta wave music, whatever works for you, but the music doesn't have to be there. It helps me a lot. I enjoy having some sort of frequency theme. It could even just be nature sounds or the sound of a sad cello, whatever gets you in a calm place. Here's the part. Here's the money part right here. Since we are so used to very distracted modern lives, what I want you to do is pick an object. Any object. In fact, the more mundane, the better. If you don't have an object, because I could be talking to folks that are pretty down and out, then make an object, meaning draw a shape on a piece of paper and stare at it. It could be a triangle, good enough. Stare at that triangle. You can draw it in highlighter to make it look a little more mystical to you, like it's glowing, or whatever it takes. But stare at it, study it, Do it. Just look at it for 10 minutes. What do you have to lose? And close your eyes. I'll tell you what I use. On my nightstand next to my bed, I use a Sharpie. It's made by Veesa, Veesa. It's a generic one. And sometimes I just stare at that for a minute. Then I'll get on to the step. Then close your eyes and visualize it. I've heard a lot of people say, I can't visualize. You can. And with this practice, it'll help you get better. But this isn't just for the purposes of practicing visualization. It's to help get the mind still. It'll never be truly out of thoughts in the quiet the mind way that some people think. At some point, when you've been doing it for years, it'll get close. We'll discuss that technique later. But right now, this opens the door. This gets you working out the meditation muscle. Close your eyes and think of nothing but that object. Just lay down. Breathe in and out slowly. And here's the important part. While you're laying down, do not move anything. And attempt to do this for 15 minutes. 5 minutes, for those who have never done it, can seem like torture. If you move, say, your mouth a little bit because you're breathing, that's okay. Blink your eyes a little bit. But I recommend you keep your eyes closed. Just keep thinking of that object. When I am laying down and doing this, I breathe in for a count of 6. I hold for a count of 6. I exhale for a count of 6. And then I hold the exhale for a count of 6. Or longer. We'll get to that later too. You can start off with the breath counts. They help your mind focus on something. But they will only be necessary for a little while. Then just start breathing in naturally, very slow, in and out. When I'm doing this breath, I picture a powerful ray of light coming in, coming down from the heavens, coming in to the third eye area, your forehead between the two eyes and all around that area. And I picture this beam of light going in, filling my head, and then the light fills my entire body. I do that for a few minutes. You don't necessarily have to do any of that visualization. To me, it just makes the counting part a little more interesting, and it begins to help you become aware of your third eye. But at first, you don't have to do any of that, and you can just lay down, breathe really slow, and do not move for 15 minutes. 5 if that's all you can stand, and keep doing it, with or without the music. Nice and slow. Then do it for a half hour. Imagine not moving at all for a half hour, not checking your phone while you're doing so. In my case, all I'm looking at in my mind's eye, if I'm not doing a visualization, all I'm looking at through the third eye, through that point between the two eyes on the forehead, in front of me, is I'm visualizing that simple little black and white Sharpie pen, in this case a generic by Veesa, Veesa, and that's all. Just simply focusing on that, laying there, breathing in progressively slower, and not moving at all. I can't overstate it, even though I may have. That, if you did nothing else but that for the rest of your life, for a half hour or an hour, you'd be a pretty advanced meditator, because that true stillness can be more difficult than it sounds. It sounds so easy. Stillness and breath. But try laying there and doing it for 5 minutes. For some people, it feels like madness to them. But to help you get out of your head, focus on that simple object. I said before, in my case, it's a marker pen. It could be anything. It could be a water bottle. It could be something that maybe you find a little bit pretty, a favorite stone or crystal. Whatever it is, the object isn't as important as the fact that this is the one thing you're focusing on. Once you get used to that, start in your vision of seeing that object, you can have it move around, up and down, diagonally, spinning, twisting. All these things, just like with the drawing of a triangle on a piece of paper, if you use that as your object. Picture it becoming three-dimensional, like a little tetrahedron or pyramid. Then picturing it go upside down, then picture it spinning, picture it glowing. Whatever the case is, that's what you're focused on. You're sacrificing the rest of the world for a Sharpie pen, in my case. But it's for a little more than a Sharpie pen. I think you understand. That is the beginning. That simple exercise. Lay down. Do not move at all. Not your hands, not your fingers. The only thing that might be allowed to move is a little bit of your mouth because you're breathing in and out. You can breathe in through your nose and very softly out through your mouth, or just through your nose. Next, this gets a little more into my second one. I've actually nicknamed it Neptune's Breath. It's my own version of something. This helps with your physical meditation muscles, quote unquote. It's a simple practice that can be a meditation, of course, itself. I almost view it a little more as a practice, because here's the trick. To get to what I call the meditation hum, the meditation buzz, a lot of that happens when you hold exhales. The famous one is the Tumo breath, the Wim Hof breathing. We breathe in and out heavily 30 times, hold for about 5 seconds, and exhale and hold that exhale for as long as you can. A nice little natural meditation buzz happens during that time, during that holding of the exhales. So people try to make that as long as they can. And what does that take? Practice. So this is very simple. I like using sixes, just something about the roundness of the number I like. So inhale for a slow, big count of 6. Hold for a steady count of 3. Then exhale very softly. This is very important and sometimes isn't emphasized. Forgive me. A little bit sore throat. Emphasized. Hold that exhale then for a count of 10. Or longer. Progressively. So you breathe in for a count of 6. Hold for a count of 3. Softly exhale. Just let it go. When you do the exhales on a lot of these, you don't go unless it's for a very specific style of technique, which we'll talk about later. But for much of it, unless it's some sort of a build-up breath, like in the Tumo or the Wim Hof, then you want exhales to be very soft. Almost like, think of it like a sigh. Just, so in for 6, hold for 3, exhale for 20, hold for 10, and then inhale again, and repeat. 6, 3, 20, 10. 6, 3, 20, then hold that exhale for 20. Hold it for 30. You keep building it up progressively. At first, just the initial slow exhale might be difficult, but keep doing it. Like anything else, you'll get there. In fact, you'll progress a bit faster than you think you will. Don't stress it. You'll find your rhythm. You'll find how much you have to inhale to facilitate the whole thing. That just takes a little bit of doing it. You'll find your own number. Find your own aggressiveness or softness of the inhale. So a big 6, up to 6. So then you hold for 3. Exhale for the count of 20. Again, very softly, like a sigh. Then close your lips and hold for the count of 10. As time goes on, hold that exhale for a count of then 20, and then 30, and then 40, however long you can. This begins to progressively build your meditation endurance concerning the breathing aspect, meaning because there's also a mental aspect. Also, while you're focusing on these sorts of counts and numbers as part of your workout practice, quote unquote, it's keeping your mind focused on something. A little bit, once again, using the comparison to if you're working out at a gym, you might be thinking about your reps, your progression. If you write these things down like some guys at the gym do, maybe you're checking your list and seeing, oh, I'm lifting this much this week. Or I've plateaued, maybe I should adjust, all that stuff. But we shouldn't shy away from things. Just like when people say, oh, I can't visualize. Well, think of a traumatic experience, and I bet you could visualize it then. Or at least feel it, which is the point anyway. Think of someone that you were, say, really attracted to. I bet their image can come right to your head. So don't tell me you can't visualize, because you can. Stop adding identification tags with things like I can't. Just work through it. Breathe through it. And you'll find it. It'll be there. It'll come. What might be more accurate is you could just say, I'm not as naturally good as a visualizer as maybe someone else is. And that is very much a true statement, potentially. Just like there are certain things that I am just not naturally very good at. But you just keep going, keep working on these things, make them part of your daily practice, and they will come to you. And if you're just aggressively not visual, then remember that it is, at the end of the day, the visual element was to get you into a feeling state. So if you can really feel what the intention is, then that is just as good. I'm very audio oriented, for example. That's why I like to have the accompanying music, the frequency music. Sometimes it could just be chanting, drums of all different types, tribal, hypnotic drums, whatever the case is. So being very audio oriented, we have natural orientation. I'm just saying for most people, and you've heard it a million times, I can't visualize, I can't. You can, like I said, if you link your emotions to something, and that's what you have to do. Don't just view this as something you do in your room. This is something you're doing in your life. It's important enough. Working on your finances is important. Working on good relationships is important. And having a good meditation practice can help you in every single other aspect of life. Use a connective web form of intelligence with this. It's all part of our arsenal to combat the world. Not saying you're combative, but let's face it. Life is not fair. It can be filled with great experiences. It can be filled with terrible experiences. Either way, you want to be prepared. A strong body, strong mind, etc., etc. And I just view meditation as a weapon in that arsenal. And I'm in no way a master. I work on myself every single day to clear out those inner debates that want to pull you back or pull you to nothingness. Every day. I've had people say, you seem like you're at peace. I say, no, I am not. I work on being at peace. And maybe, just a little bit, maybe that shows. But I'm in combat all the time, folks. We all are. That's why we want to have something like this in our toolbox, such as meditation. It's not the answer to everything, but it's definitely something of value to us all. That is my personal opinion on that. So to engage in the law of mentalism, we first have to develop the mental muscle, just to use that terminology. We need to form ourselves like forming a clay sculpture. We need to make the tool in the forge before we go out and just try to take things on. I don't believe the universe responds to people that look like they don't mean business. But finding that alignment will happen at different levels for different people. We're all at different places. But oftentimes the discipline of meditation just isn't discussed. And what I just said tonight, just a nice little thing in the very beginning. The 2 little exercises I do is lying still while picturing an object. I might add other visualizations or music or whatever to it, but that's the main practice I'm engaging in, is keeping my focus on that one dumb, simple thing and nothing else. In a later episode, I'll discuss how to deal with the crazy, random, racing thoughts. But today, it's working on the breath itself, holding exhales for long periods of time, like I mentioned with the exercise I call Neptune's breath. Inhale for 6, hold for 3, exhale for 20, hold for 10. As time goes on, and then you inhale again, of course, repeat. As time goes on, exhale for 30, hold for 20, exhale for 30, hold for 40. And you start building up that longer-winded endurance. Anyhow, and remember, you don't get something for nothing. To engage in the law of mentalism, that the all is mind, we have to get rid of the things that are trying to take our mind from us, to take that tool from us. And that is the wickedly crazy distractions that are everywhere, as well as some of our own internal debates. I'm Daniel Michael. Thank you, and have a great evening.